This whole thing starts with a jolt. Imagine Wall Street waking up to find a precious stock quietly slipping onto a blockchain while nobody, not even the regulators, can peek inside the order book. Yep. That headline practically punched me in the face, and I can't look away. So here's what sucked me in. Charles Hoskinson, yep, the Cardano guy who loves cowboy hats and Twitter debates, just took the wraps off of something called Midnight. At first glance, Midnight sounds like the sort of edgy nightclub where you lose your phone, right? Your dignity in some cases, and half your paycheck in 2 hours flat. But no, it's a sidechain built for privacy, designed to hold real stocks, those blue chips, dividend-paying, grammar-approved equities, directly on-chain. Now, Hoskinson says that it could crack open a $10 trillion door today and scale to $100 trillion, tomorrow. Now, if that number doesn't kind of goose your curiosity, you need to check your pulse. Okay. Let me rewind for a moment. I heard him say this, right? We built Midnight for stocks on the blockchain. Now, I was halfway through my iced coffee scrolling, expecting another buzzword bonanza about DeFi yield farms, and instead, boom, stocks, privacy, zero knowledge cryptography. Now, it felt like someone snuck a rocket engine under my vintage VW Beetle and handed me the keys. Now, here is why it matters, right? Right now, if you want to trade Apple or Tesla shares, you're relying on clearing houses, settlement delays, and a pile of middlemen who all were kind of dip their kind of beaks in. Now, the system works, sort of, but it's slow. It's expensive, and about as transparent as a fogged up bathroom mirror. Now, institutions, they cling to it because blockchains, with their public ledgers are just too naked, right? No giant pension fund wants its kind of every move broadcast to the entire world. Now, Midnight's pitch is full privacy, full programmability, and seamless interoperability so that those same institutions can hop on chain without flashing their underwear. So picture Midnight, the time, not the chain, on earnings day, right? A fund manager who wants to scoop up a chunk of Nvidia stock, right, before the market wakes up, but doesn't want rivals sniffing it out. So with Midnight's zero knowledge contracts, that order could zip across Cardano's ecosystem, settling instantly and not spill a single bean. Now that's the sort of cloak and dagger institutional whales dream about. And Hoskinson says that the tech is live, not vapor. Of course, wallets, they didn't just grow with magic in a vacuum, right? Midnight cherry-picked proven parts from Aptos for consensus speed, snagged the Polkadot's SDK for modular flexibility, and sprinkled in Cardano's own UTXO wizardry for good measure. Now, then there's the Zcash-inspired privacy layer, the zero-knowledge source that lets you trade or prove a trade happened without actually revealing who did it or how big it was. It's like showing the world that you can bench press 300 pounds without letting them see how many plates are actually on the bar. But the big question hanging over the dance floor: will regulators tango with it or yank the plug? Now, Hoskinson claims that Midnight was baked with compliance in mind. He even took a guest spot on the Lexus Foundation's Confidential Computing Consortium, right? Rubbing elbows with Microsoft and Amazon to hammer out secure hardware, enclaves, where private AI crunches numbers without leaking data. Now, all of that is fancy talk for we're building a vault where code can run, but secrets stay secret. And if you're ever kind of worried about ChatGPT and might gobble up your kind of personal information, that vault sounds mighty reassuring. Now, before we all strap rocket thrusters to our brokerage accounts, there's a challenge that we can't ignore, right? Privacy on-chain is a double-edged sword, right? You hide the good traders, But you also might hide the shady ones too, right? Midnight's bet is that a tightrope of legal frameworks plus cryptographic proofs keep the crooks out while letting legit money in. Still, it's uncharted territory, and we've got the same mix of excitement and butterflies that you feel right before trying, geranium fruit for the first time, right? Could be sweet, but could be a lingering nightmare. But let's get concrete, right? Hoskinson says that stablecoins were his kind of test case. These digital dollars already kind of chew up 70+% of Ethereum's economic action, north of $250 billion. Now, if that much cash is, comfortable living on chain, why not Apple, or your kind of favorite green energy ETF, right? And because Midnight is a sidechain, you can bounce those assets through bridges like to Ethereum, Solana, maybe even Bitcoin OS once the cross-chain wizardry clicks. Now, speaking of which, of course, shout out to Fairgate Labs. They built some of the tech behind Bitcoin OS and are now collaborating to connect Midnight to everything else under the crypto sun. Now, without dropping yet another token that pumps, dumps, and clogs your feed with meme coins. Now, here is where my nerd brain lit up like Times Square. Hoskinson put a number on it. A $10 trillion opportunity today, scaling to a $100 trillion opportunity. Now that's the same size pie as Wall Street droves over during Sunday brunch. So imagine the world's stock exchanges, bonds markets, maybe even derivatives, all piping through a blockchain highway where trades clear faster than you can down a latte. Right? That's not an incremental upgrade. That's kind of like ripping the plumbing out of finance and replacing it with fiber optic nerves. And the kicker? Programmability, right? Stocks become Lego bricks. What a dividend that automatically converts into an inflated kind of hedged stablecoin the second that it hits your wallet. Well, code it, right? You want your shares to automatically unlock voting rights only after you've held them for 30 days? Code it, right? Midnight's confidential smart contracts makes those what-if ideas a matter of a few lines of code instead of a phone call to your broker. But let me level with you. Integrating Wall Street, it ain't as easy as tapping impulse stocks in Visual Studio. Right? You need custody rules, you need identity checks, real-world audits, and guardrails that to kind of keep flash loan exploits from detonating an index fund, right? Hoskinson seems convinced that hybrid blockchains, where some data is private, some is public, and everything is verifiable, hold the key. It's like having a glass walled conference room. Everyone can see that the meeting is happening, but only invitees hear the conversation. Still, skeptics light up. They say privacy smothers kind of transparency, right? Liquidity fragments across sidechains, and tokenized equities are the gluten-free pizza. It sounds great until you taste it, and it's fair enough. But think about how quickly stablecoins went from weird internet IOUs to $250 billion asset class. Markets chase convenience the way that teenagers chase Wi-Fi. Now, if Midnight slashes settlements down from 2 days to 2 seconds and shaves fees down to pocket lint, well, the adoption curve could be steep. Now, here's the moment that really stuck with me. Hoskinson shared that Midnight isn't just about stocks or coins. It's also built so AI models can dip into private data sets without spilling secrets. So picture hospitals training diagnostics on encrypted health records, or ledgers underwriting loans with consumer data that never leaves its locked box. Now that use case alone could flip regulators from skeptics to cheerleaders faster than you can say consumer grade encryption. But hey, If any of this is making your inner geek do cartwheels, slide into our free crypto Discord server. There's a link waiting for you guys in the description down below. Right? We nerd out about this stuff every single day. We swap charts and sometimes roast each other's portfolio picks. So why not come and hang out? Okay, so geek mode aside, let me walk you through a scenario. It's 2027. You wake up, you pour a coffee, and open a single wallet app. Inside are your kind of Apple shares from NASDAQ, a chunk of your private SpaceX round, a funky meme coin featuring a dancing avocado, I don't know, and a carbon credit token that's trimming your personal footprint, all secured by a private smart contract that can't even tell, or at least you can't even tell, is even there. All because the interface is clean as an iPhone home screen. Right? You decide to rebalance, you swap half your Apple for a basket of African solar energy startups, all tokenized as RWAs. Right? The trade clears in seconds, there's no wire transfers, there's no banking hours. No, your funds will arrive in 3 to 5 business days. None of that. Right? That, friend, is the financial self-custody dream. And Midnight says that it's carving that tunnel, at least the tunnel, that actually is going to lead you there. But back to today. Midnight still has to ship mainnet, right? Battle test those cross-chain bridges and prove regulators won't pull the emergency brake. And let's be real, other blockchains, Polygon, Avalanche, even old school IBM Hyperledger are pursuing the very same holy grail. The race is on. The technical prowess alone won't guarantee the prize. Partnerships, user experience, and trust will. Hoskinson knows it, which is why he's snapping up consortium seats and name-dropping giants like Amazon wherever he can. Now, one snag that keeps me up at night is user experience. Privacy tech is notorious for clunky UX. If Midnight ends up feeling like setting up a VPN or dial-up internet, adoptions will stall, right? But the team says that they're hiding the complexity under developer-friendly APIs. So the translation is that code monkeys do the heavy lifting so that traders click a button and just chill. Another worry, liquidity, right? Stocks thrive on huge volumes. Fragment that across multiple chains and you kind of risk shallow pools. Midnight's answer is interoperability. Zap tokens to Ethereum, Solana, wherever the buyers hang out. It's ambitious, but the crypto space runs on ambition the way that Teslas run on lithium. Okay, let's zoom out. Markets have salivated over tokenized RWAs for years, yet progress feels snail-paced. Every domino sparks buzz, but we haven't actually seen Apple stocks truly live on-chain at scale. Right, Midnight's secret weapon is zero-knowledge compliance. If a regulator can verify a trade without knowing the parties, well, legal comfort skyrockets. Now that could turn the snail into a cheetah. Okay, look, I'm not saying that Midnight will eat Wall Street's lunch tomorrow, but remember how Netflix mailed DVDs before streaming 8 Blockbuster Alive? The switch is inevitable until, or I should say invisible until one morning you wake up and nobody owns a DVD player anymore. It was kind of inevitable to the people in the very early days who could see it happening. Midnight could be a layer that is the invisible layer or rail, right? And by the time that mainstream finance even notices, teenagers might be bragging about their token-only stock portfolios the way that we once bragged about MP3 libraries. And if you are thinking, cool story, but I'm not a hedge fund whale, remember stablecoins. Those started as kind of kooky workarounds for moving money between exchanges, and now they're kind of DeFi backbone, right? Retail will follow the pros once the pros blaze a path, right? The dividend reinvestment plan crowd will demand instant settlement as soon as they realize that it is possible. So, where does this leave us? Well, Hoskinson plants his flag on a $100 trillion mountain and says that Midnight is the 𝗕𝗑. Now, institutions, they want privacy. Regulators want compliance. Traders want speed. And blockchain purists want decentralization, right? Satisfying all four is like juggling flaming chainsaws while reciting Shakespeare. But if they even get halfway, the rewards is going to be absolutely enormous. Okay, so let me leave you with this mental image then. Midnight is like the backstage pass to the biggest concert on earth, right? If you're still listening to the same music, you're still in the same bonds, your same stocks, same stable coins, but instead of kind of craning your neck from the cheap seats, right? You're actually wandering the green room, right? Chatting with the band and customizing the set list in real time. Now, it's that level of control that isn't just a minor upgrade. It's a flip on the whole concert experience, and it basically, flips it on its head. All in, I'm equal parts intrigued and cautious, right? The tech is dazzling, right? The market is whale-sized and the timeline is tight. If Midnight delivers, it might carve Cardano's name into the very foundations of global finance. If not, well, we'll kind of chalk it up to another ambitious experiment and move on, right? This space, it never stops iterating, right? Either way, you keep your notifications on because this story is only going to be heating up.